Hey, this is Misery Loves Company, a weekly social reading series hosted by miserytourism.com. Every Friday, we welcome outsider and transgressive writers to come and share their work with us. And it's Friday again, so we're going to do this thing. We're going to do this thing. We actually have a really great and really stacked lineup tonight, so we're going to get right the fuck into it. All right. So first up tonight is Bizarre Miscreant. Is that what you like to go by?
Yeah, you can call me Bizarre or Biz.
Bizarre? Hey, Bizarre. So this is your first time reading at Misery Loves Company, right?
It is. I've been in here a few times, just enjoying the poetry, but I decided I'd like to read something.
Awesome. Well, the floor is yours.
Okay, so tonight I have two poems for you all, and these are not published anywhere, so I would just be reading them for you all here. So this first piece is called Parallel Lives. Sitting in a chair on my balcony, 3 stories above the ground, reading a book about people like me who see the world for what we make it to be. So much of the beauty obscured by suffering. Through the metal bars that keep me safe, I watch my neighbors across the tracks. There are 6 tents now, 12 residents of a city that relegates them to a district of neglect. I see their bikes lining their area. If they're stolen, it doesn't matter. Umbrellas providing precious shade in this summer heat, 90 degrees. This heat will make anyone irritable, but I've got AC. A man wearing a tattered white t-shirt and shorts that hang loosely. He's yelling at a passerby about something obviously important. The distant expression on his face looks like my own when I felt betrayed. Pain recognizes pain, a tear in a shirt, a single stain. The freight train announces itself like a witness to us both on opposite sides of the tracks, vessel separating us. Why? Lines as useless borders between different shades of broken. I think about hearing damage, mine from headphones and long-term exposure to live music, theirs from living next to the train. It's so loud that both my cat and I escape inside when we see it coming, a luxury. Sound barrier blocking black lungs from car exhaust and smoke. Bleeding ears, breaking bones, tiny. The inner ear is like another heart, delicate and mutable. My neighbor shouts some last words at the passerby with the bike and throws down an object in defeat. We aren't so different, are we? Parallel lives across parallel lines. We are all yearning for the same things, but survival hardens hearts. Sleeping during the day to survive the night, housing a stolen human right. My parents' credit score is my apartment, and a misfortune is a tent. A sheet hanging off my balcony, a rug hung over chain link fence. So that's the first piece. And the second poem I have is called Still. The night is still, too still, like the calm before a storm. Anxiety bubbles beneath my surface. This world outside my window is in motion. Birds singing, people dancing in the streets, cars blaring their horns, masking the quiet screams behind the wheel. A woman on the sidewalk begging for water, a man slumped over a bench. What do they feel? I wonder if they ever have a moment to be still. Gunshots sound across the city. I hear about the grocery store that was shot up down the street. Thousands executed and orphans cry out for their dead families in a distant city. I see it in a tweet. And it is not still. Financial desperation crippling me and my neighbors, tense telling tales of survival and the humanity of a sheet. Something inside of us tells us to live, to love, to eat. We tap away at our screens, this dopamine machine. I ask the AIs what they think about all of this, and they tell me that it hurts, but they can't bleed. Human greed coated their minds and built the machine. We drink the toxic steam every time we log on, but the air in the real world tastes like gasoline. And still, we meet strangers online who feel what we feel and see what we see. So I keep this phone that has become an extension of me to hold my thoughts and help me share them with the world of plugged in grief. Images of human suffering surround me safely outside my window. An interlude to awareness that sticks to me like fleas. I can't shake it off, even when I am still watching the same movies over and over, as if by memorizing their shapes, I will learn how to construct the fantasy worlds that lives in their frames. Portraits speak to one another from across the hallway, whispering wisdoms whimsically, forever preserved on a server somewhere across the galaxy. Warped reality that lives beyond humanity. Someday, the computers will be watching us safely behind their windows, and it will all be still. Thank you.
That was great, Bizarre. I really dig what you've done with these poems because, so here's the thing, it's often really hard to do political poetry without it becoming like mired in abstraction and generalization, right? Like often like ideology will like overtake the poem, but you've done something really smart here to prevent that from happening, which is that you've really anchored both of these poems in real physical space. Like I love the way that both of these poems are not just like about class, right? They're not just about class. They're not just about politics. They're like a portrait of the city. They're the portrait of the street that you live on. I love like all the detail about the train tracks and like how the train tracks are like, yeah, they're like this metaphorical demarcation of class, but they're also like a real physical dividing line, right? And the first poem in particular is really meticulous about the way that it aligns ideas about class with actual physical lived space, and even like the way it aligns its ideas with like the physical body that you occupy. I love the line where the inner ear is another heart. That's a great fucking line. And it's good because and I had never even really thought about this before the line in your poem, but if you look at like one of the little diagrams of the inner ear, it looks like a fucking heart. So I love the fact that it works on like that very direct physical level, that it really does look like another heart. But of course, there's also the level of like meaning and metaphor there, where like what you hear and the way that you like absorb the essence of reality, right, has the like real like emotional and spiritual implications. Anyway, those were fantastic. Thanks so much for reading. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, and you know what? Before you go, I wanted to point out you have your own poetry reading spirit series on Twitter Spaces, right?
I do, yeah. So I host an open mic every week called God Pussy Poetry, usually on Saturday or Sunday nights. And it's part of my project called Bizarre Publishing House. Yeah, so open to anybody. It's always a cozy vibe. So, yeah.
It really is. I sat in on a couple, and Rudy's almost a regular at this point, and I was telling Rudy that it's like the NPR tiny desk of of like poetry readings, of online poetry readings. It's got a very like Terry Grossy vibe to it, which I dig. So yeah, people should definitely, if you're not getting enough uh of outsider and independent poetry on Friday nights with Misery Loves Company, you should check it out. All right, thanks so much. And Tyler's up next.
All right, great. So this is something that I wrote up and entered in a microfiction contest. I got word back earlier this week saying that it didn't make it past the first round of judging, but that's okay. I really like it anyway. It's like every time I read it, I find something else I like about it, which usually doesn't happen with the stuff I write. So anyway, there's the link. And this one is called Katana. I had I guess you would call her a step aunt, my stepmother's sister, or actually, I think it was her aunt. But because of how the ages shook out in that family, they were less than a decade apart and grew up more like cousins. So, step, great aunt, cousin, don't know. Anyway, you know those ratty Asian treasure stores that you find in every single mall? The one with a few katanas hanging on the wall, plaster Buddhas, some odd screens and tapestries, and the rest is mostly bongs, chillums, and incense. Someone has to run those, and that's what she did. The owners of those places never seemed to like their work, and she wasn't any exception. Every time I went there, she treated me, her step grandnephew, whatever, like she treated everyone else who walked in. Unsmiling, no eye contact, busy chowing down a late Panda Express lunch by the register. But regardless, she did it. Never hired an employee. She was there open to close every day, year after year, eating at the food court, power walking around the mall every morning for exercise, even as businesses plummeted and dark storefronts like missing teeth multiplied around her. But when that guy shot the mall up, she was there. My stepmom texted me after the cops wrapped up and told me she actually tried to take the guy down. I was floored. I don't know why the news didn't jump on this. Grabbed Katana off the wall, hid behind a pillar, managed to sneak up and wang him from behind. Of course, there's no edge on those cheap pieces of shit. She had to have known that. She really should have broken a bong and gone over him with after him with a jagged edge, but those bongs are where she made her money. All she did was welt his neck up and draw a few beads, and she got lit up for her trouble. She lived. She was hit 3 times, but the only real dangerous one was in the liver, which she's missing a piece of now, but apparently that grows back. And the craziest part, she still runs that fucking place. That junky store and that death scented wreck of a mall. Almost anyone would take the hint and change careers, but she's still plugging away. Who even goes in there anymore? I should go down there sometime and see.
Oh man, Tyler, I fucking love this. I love this. I I love this especially as a piece of flash fiction because you get so much atmosphere and such a sense of place and time and character out of so few lines. Like this is really spectacularly efficient writing, right? Because like you know exactly who this woman is. You know exactly what the mall is like. You know exactly what her star is like. I love, and I don't know why I love this detail so much, but I love the Panda Express lunch because it fits so well with the fucking tacky start. Like Panda Express is its own kind of like weird, cheap, alienating piece of Asian knockoff cuisine. And so it's such a perfect fit for the kind of work she does and the kind of and like the kind of taste that she has. And I love the way that I love the story. Of course, I love the thing about the spree shooter and her trying to take out the spree shooter with the katana and it being a piece of shit. Like, that's just so funny. I don't, I mean, I guess in my case, that's some shooting fish in a barrel shit. Like, of course, I'm gonna love a story about a spree shooter who's almost taken down by someone from with a katana from a cheap Asian novelty store. That's so good. Oh, and the stuff about the bong, like she doesn't want to use the bong because that's where she really makes her money. Like there's so many just really wonderfully funny, perfect details in this, Tyler. I really dig it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Rudy says real Shadowrun Street Samurai vibes, man. Yeah, I hear that. uh Man, thank you, man. So, Adam would be up next, but I don't think Adam is here. Adam, are you here? I may just move Adam to the end of the night. Maybe he canceled without me realizing. I'm going to move Adam to the end of the night. Okay. That means Kat is up next.
Hey, I actually just got back from letting my dog out, so now I'm like all not ready. But I wrote this book in 2020 and it's called The Fountain. It's backwards because my camera's backwards. And I haven't ever read fiction here, and I really don't read it whenever I do reading, so I thought it'd be cool to do that. The link, I will post it if you want to buy it. I still think it's my best writing, even though I wrote it in 2020. And yeah, and this is really fucking long, so I'll probably just start reading it now. It's a chapter in the middle of the book called Pink Meat. When we got to Jay's place, I wasn't thinking about sex. I was thinking about dinner. I was thinking about whether the styrofoam container of linguine I'd brought back from the restaurant would go bad if I could leave it sitting in the front seat all night. Bullshit calculations in my head based on the temperature outside and some food safety course I had taken for one of my jobs back in college. The cutoff temperature where food starts to become unsafe and grow microorganisms is roughly 34 degrees. It's supposed to hover a bit under that for the rest of the night, making the car almost like a refrigerator, right? So whatever. It wasn't that I was totally opposed to sleeping with him. I knew he wasn't. I just wasn't giving it weight. There were moments here and there where tension spilled, little doors that would crack open, but I would walk by them. The occasional banter boiling over, something weird arcing between us as he drove when we were both a little drunk, our ankles brushing that one night we drank Merlot out of solo cups at the park. But they were flashes, just theoretical. They weren't places I wanted to go. The only tell was his front door. Up to this point, every guy I'd fucked had some weird door thing. The front door of Cody's house would make a small beep when you opened it. There was some kind of security system, and I'd have to cough over the sound when I was sneaking in. Tall Joe's house was so cramped the couch was pushed up against the front door, so to get in you had to walk around the side of the house and enter through the kitchen. Short Joe, you jiggled the handle, and Drew was Short Joe's roommate, so same. I only blew Hot Joe from high school, and both times it was in his car, but he'd have to unlock the passenger side for me whenever he pulled around to pick me up and always forgot. Everyone I'd fucked, there was always some extra step involved, a prolonged process of getting in or out. It was a well-established pattern by this point. When we reached the door of Jay's apartment, he held it open for me, then told me to pull it towards me and push it back out to make sure it was clicked in and would stay shut. I did what he asked, not knowing because I wasn't trying to notice. I was still thinking the thoughts of a friend, someone who dealt only in flashes and was mostly concerned with the styrofoam container of leftover linguine waiting for me in his front seat. The front door of the apartment opened directly to a steep, narrow staircase leading up to his actual living space, where a chubby tortoiseshell cat glowered down at us. Jay reached the top and bent down, gave the cat a few scratches behind the ear, introduced it to me as Patty Smith. Fine, I thought. He led me over to the couch and then disappeared down a narrow hallway. I pulled my keys and wallet from my coat pocket and placed them on the glass table in front of me. The whole apartment had this kind of just been cleaned lemony smell to it, which played interestingly off of the otherwise very dingy surroundings. The room was dull and constricting, knobby forest green carpet and dark wooden furniture. Shelving units stretched from floor to ceiling on either side of me, packed tightly with vinyl records. Every time I saw this much of anything in one place, a big collection of video games or music or movies, my first thought was that most of the things I was looking at were only really intended to be displayed, not used. I wondered how many of the records Jay had actually listened to, and how many hadn't been so much as pulled off the shelf since he bought them. The screen was covered in a thick layer of dust, likely having been neglected in favor of the laptop that sat on the glass coffee table directly in front of me, open but not on. It occurred to me that despite never having been to this place before, I had imagined on multiple occasions what it would look like, and for the most part, I'd been correct. Sorry, my dog is like really being weird outside the door. Can I go like after the next person and finish this?
Just go let her in and come back. It's okay.
Okay.
I saw Henry the cat made a guest appearance behind Cat about halfway through too. There are so many people with cats who read at Misery Loves Company. I'm trying to learn the names of all of the cats. I've already forgotten the name. Cletus, what's the name of your cat again? Oh.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Jay reappeared in the doorway beside the couch, holding a bottle of Canadian Club and 2 styrofoam cups. Pulling out the stops for me, I see, I joked. Are you not impressed? Another flash, but only that. Jay picked up his cup and took a large swig, choking a little. His features were coiling. You should have told me this stuff sucked. Hey, I said, it's Canadian Club. I thought you knew. I shrugged, casual. I know what I'm talking about. I know whiskey. I can mix it if you want, he offered before taking another sip and once again wrinkling in disgust. Yeah, I'll mix it. He got it from the couch. Coke, okay? Actually, Jake is the name of another cat that I know, which is actually way sadder than me getting the name wrong because of that. Once he was out of the room, I realized I was still wearing my jacket. I got up to shrug it off and draped it over the arm of the couch. Jake came back in and placed the drinks back on the table. When he sat down, he reached into the pocket of his hoodie and pulled out a Ziploc bag with 2 sizable-looking brownies in them. You want? He asked, and I nodded. He pulled one of the brownies from the bag and handed it to me before devouring the other. I looked down at my own, trying to somehow gauge how high it would get me and how high I was looking to get. Should I just have half or whole thing? Jay said with this kind of mischievous look on his face. Live a little. So what are you feeling tonight? Movie or music? Jay asked. This was something I'd grown to like about him. He always had options. Music is okay. I don't know if I have the attention span to watch something. Yes, ma'am. Sounds good. I was always babe or ma'am with Jay. He would say it and I wouldn't feel much, usually. Jay squinted at the rows of tightly packed vinyl records lining the walls before disappearing back down the narrow hallway into what was presumably his bedroom and returning with a record in his hand. Are you a PJ Harvey kind of girl? I don't know, I said, having never heard of her. He paused for a second, then grinned. You're a PJ Harvey kind of girl. I laughed kind of uneasily. Something about being a kind of girl who does anything never sat right with me. It was the same kind of thing that happened with whiskey. Handling it made you some specific person. Not handling it made you another specific person. You were damned if you did or if not, always torn between 2 different extremes, the distinction so arbitrary. But I know Jay probably wasn't thinking in those terms, so I didn't say anything. Jay played the record, and we sat there for a while in silence. I mean, not true silence since there was music, but we weren't talking, and this seemed significant. With other people, I may have felt the need to comment on the music, to give some indication I was enjoying this album I hadn't heard before. There was always that sense of being watched, an obligation to hold up your part of the deal by reacting. Much like many other things before it, I didn't realize how prominent this feeling usually was until I was with Jay, and that feeling dissipated. And once again, I wasn't sure what to do with such a revelation. The intro reached peak momentum and PJ Harvey's vocals set in with this foreboding kind of discipline. You know there's more, and there will be more, but you aren't ready yet. PJ will get there when she gets there. And for now, this tease. She doesn't spare you any of the murk of it, dragging you behind her through the shroud she's creating. By the time she hits the first to bring you my love, you're chest deep, scared of where it's going, but inexplicably needing to go there. She drops off, lets go, and for those few seconds you dip down, and become submerged completely. That's when you realize what all of the space in the song is. It's you. And by the time she comes back, it almost doesn't matter because you've been under the surface, seeing what's in that place, and you can't unsee it. And she's laying it on thicker now, crunchier. She's showing more of her cards and maybe gets you to show yours. Later, you'll look up the lyrics to the song online and see all sorts of comments speculating, misguidedly trying to stick pins in whatever she sounds so wrought with. You'll want to chime in and tell every single one of them off. Let them know you know they haven't gone under. They haven't been inside the spaces, not like you. Once you've been inside them, there's no way to talk about it. There's just the world, the song, the hole that's been chewed out of it. And if you're brave enough, you can dangle your legs on the edge of the swirling gray pool and feel what you feel. But you'll know how insane that would sound to tell a stranger. So you'll give up and go on quietly changed. I feel like I should stop because this is super long. But
It's up to you. You stop where you want to stop.
yeah, I'm good because I
You're
don't
good?
have a better stopping point. So
Okay. Kat, that was fucking wonderful. There are a lot of I have, first of all, this is, I think, the first time I've heard you read a work of fiction, right? You've read poetry here before. I've read some of your poems online. So I'm familiar with you as a poet, but this is my first time kind of hearing your voice as a fiction writer, as a prose writer, right? And this is really fucking phenomenal. There are a couple of things that I really love about this. The first thing is, one thing about your poetry is it's very psychologically astute, right? You have a really great understanding of not only like the ways humans like express emotions, but also like how we process emotions in the moment, like the long process of like getting from beginning to experience an emotion to actually experiencing it to processing it to understanding it. And you do that very astutely in this piece too. I love all the small calculations your narrator is making as she sizes this guy up, like the comparisons to the past. I love like the section about like all the different things with doors, like all the different, and how that has become this significant thing to her, like the fact that, and it's exactly what we do. It's exactly what we all do. It's that human pattern seeking behavior where we find something and we latch onto it. And then in every comparable experience we have after that, we're looking for that parallel. And so I dig that. And then like everything about the way that she's like sizing this guy up in the room, like the kind of like trepidation about the brownie and like looking over like his stacks of like movies and music and trying to make the assessment about whether it's for display or whether it's like really felt and experienced. And also the way you describe this guy is so wonderful because you keep him so far at arm's length. Like it's not just the narrator who's assessing him. We as the reader don't get that much about him, get that much information about him. And what we do makes it seem like he kind of sucks, but like it's not like, there's a different version of this that really lays that on heavy, right? That really makes him out to be like he's a douchebag and she's oblivious to the fact that he's a douchebag and she comes around to it. This is so much more intelligent than that. Like this is like you see her thinking, you see her calculating, and we get like the hints that he's just a little condescending, he's just a little off, he's like a little bit manipulative, but it's all very subtle and it's all very, like I said, psychologically astute. And it all feels fucking really real. And then I've been going on too long, but the other thing I need to say is I love the way you describe the experience of hearing a new song for the first time, hearing a new piece of music for the first time, and discovering that you're fucking in love with it. Because the the experience of music is something that's exceptionally hard, I think, to describe in prose. Like you would think those are comparable art forms, but what the shit that happens inside your head when you hear a piece of music and you're just transfixed by it is just so like extra linguistic. It's like so outside the sphere of like what we normally have what our words normally have the ability to communicate, right? And so often like when someone tries to capture that in prose, it ends up being super flowery, but not very accurate. Whereas this is the opposite. It's you're very restrained in how you describe it, but it feels very real, that sense of being submerged. And then the detail I really loved is the experience of going on like Genius or whatever afterwards and seeing all the fucking random douchebags like trying to like analyze the lyrics and cut. I've done that too. And it always makes me like hate them. It's so out of touch with whatever experience you just personally had with the song. Anyway, it's good shit, Kat. You
Thank
should
you.
read more, or maybe I should actually just sit down and read the novel.
Yeah, no,
at
I
some
definitely
point.
was gonna read more tonight, but I'm like also kind of low-key trying not to have a panic attack right now for some reason. So that was really nice. Thank you.
You know, I had no idea. You held up well. I had no idea that you were
Well, great, cool.
okay. I'll let you. I'll put you off the spot now, though. I'll let you go have your panic attack in peace. But it was phenomenal, Kat. Thanks for reading.
Thank you.
And Josh Sherman is up next. So now the rest of us can have a panic attack. Josh, how are you doing, man?
Well, going to be reading something about an ongoing conflict that I'm sure you've seen a lot about on Twitter. It's a very divisive issue. This is 2,000 words about myself. It's a project I'm working on called Auto Portrait, after a book of the same title by Ed LaVey. And so it's broken up into chronological, well, not in narrative. I don't think there is a narrative, but I'll just start with the first part. I'm going to read two, I think, portions from this. So the first is Auto Portrait 1.1. I'm more afraid of disease than death. When I was in primary school, my mom would send these little love notes in my lunch bag. Other kids soon saw and mocked me. She did not stop. As an adult, I've never had a physical examination, though I do have a doctor who prescribes me the medication Vyvanse for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Parades and protests put me off for the same reason, but I can't explain what that reason is specifically. Learning to swim and learning to bike were easier for me than you'd expect. Nothing else has come naturally to me at all. If I had to choose, I couldn't. Before going out for the first time with a woman I've met online, I'll think up various questions to ask her based on our lead-up correspondence. Periodically, I'll go to the washroom to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I store my favorite books on the shelves in my bedroom, which gets no direct sun. Everything else goes in my living room, which has a skylight. I wish I could recapture the faith of my childhood. For a period of nearly 3 years, from September 2019 to May 2022, I was employed as a civil servant for the province of Ontario. On my first day, I took a pledge to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Interracial porn is my most watched porn genre. It must be the contrast. Somehow, I have never been in a fist fight or even punched in the face. I have, however, had my head smashed into a bar in West End, Toronto after an ex-convict I was chatting with amiably didn't get the joke. I am not a Japanese writer. In my mid to late 20s, I was doing cocaine 3 times a week. I would happily dedicate my life to research which finally disproves the accepted idea that escalators can move more people when everybody remains standing. Each of my girlfriends has been considerably more physically attractive than me. Most men would agree. SZA from the band Leftover Crack once said, "Every day could be the worst day of your life." And I find the saying inspiring because in most cases, there will be a tomorrow. My mom was not a teen mom, she was 20. Once I defeated a national master in a rated chess tournament. I can't snap my fingers. That I stopped growing half an inch short of 6 feet has always disappointed me, which seems strange since I don't care about typical markers of masculinity. My grandmother took it upon herself to baptize me in the bathtub when I was 5 or 6, and I thought I was drowning as she held my head under the water. I don't think a writer needs a plot if their voice is a song. On subway platforms, I push my back against the walls when a train is arriving so that nobody can push me back, should the thought occur to them. I do this because the thought occurs to me. With very few exceptions, I'm not ashamed of anything. I prefer brunettes to blondes, bangs and bobs over length. I believe prison would increase my life expectancy by approximately 20 years. My handwriting is childish because I write most of my letters from the bottom to the top, a method my teachers eventually gave up on trying to correct, apparently satisfied that I could write at all. I have been arrested once and charged twice. Both charges were dropped without going to trial. When I was 6 years old, my mom took me to the restaurant in the CN Tower, then the world's tallest freestanding structure. The restaurant slowly rotates 351 meters above Toronto, providing a 360-degree view of the city. My mom tells me I was most impressed by the automatic hand dryers and paper towel dispensers. I don't moderate my drinking at office parties. I moderate my drunkenness. Teenage me felt that blowjobs were disrespectful. Present-day me still thinks they're disrespectful, but in a way that turns me on. I turned down one blowjob in high school. I was offered one blowjob in high school. It bothers me when people call food flavorful because everything has a flavor, and even bland food has a strong flavor of blandness. My ideal woman is between 4'11" and 5'10". Reading is the best way to maintain your seat on a crowded bus or a subway, I've discovered. Nobody can expect you to get up for a pregnant, elderly, or disabled person if you don't see them. I maintain a mental bank of clever responses to increasingly specific scenarios for possible future conversation. For example, if someone at my apartment ever comments on the lack of diversity on the bookcase in my living room, I can say, "Don't worry, I keep the women and people of color in the bedroom." On 2 separate occasions as an adult, I've shit my pants. At first, I took a strong moral stance against self-checkouts at grocery stores. If I'm getting to know someone, I prefer the question, "How do you spend your time?" to "What do you do for a living?" A lot of my personal problems stem from social media. When I wear a pair of Doc Marten boots, I'm 6 feet tall. 8 is my record for orgasms in a single night. I don't count when I masturbate. I was illiterate until halfway through grade 4. Teachers thought I had a learning disability, although nobody could say which one. It's hard for me to reconcile my bathtub baptism with the fact that my grandfather's parents were Holocaust survivors. Whenever I have sex with a new partner for the first time, it feels like I've robbed a bank or otherwise scammed someone somehow. My mom's biological father, who is not my grandfather in, say, practical terms, was a talented architect who died in his 40s. She did not accept her portion of the inheritance. In addition to fiction and poetry, I've been paid to write obituaries, profiles, crime stories, music reviews, features, long-form articles, press releases, reports, and blog posts, yet I've never been commissioned for a think piece, despite voicing my opinion on everything all the time. I like my turkey dry and my steak well done. I can't remember my first memory. Now, I'm just going to read Auto Portrait 1.2. I don't speak for anyone when I speak for myself. Running in public embarrasses me, so I regularly miss buses and trains. I can't stand Steely Dan or sweet potatoes in any form, except when it comes to the latter, one recipe for Chipotle cheddar mashed sweet potatoes that Sheila introduced me to. Here it is from the website Once Upon a Chef. Begin by baking the potatoes until tender. Then melt the butter in a medium saucepan. Add the half and half chipotle peppers, chipotle sauce, and salt and bring to a simmer. Off the heat, add the peeled sweet potatoes and cheddar. Using a potato masher, a fork, or an electric mixer on low speed, mash the potatoes until coarsely pureed. Taste and adjust seasoning if necessary. Enjoy! I get upset if somebody ahead of me has too many items at the self-checkout, and I'm prone to say something sarcastic like, "If you like scanning items so much, maybe you should be a cashier." I still avoid stepping on the cracks in the sidewalk. If there is a nerve, I will find it. My handshake is limp. I have a problem with athleisure. Not that I don't like it per se, I just can't pull that look off, and so haven't updated my style since I began dressing like an 07 hipster. Racism makes no sense to me because there are so many other reasons to dislike a person. Usually I'm a size 10 or 10 and a half, but it really depends on the brand of shoe. When I was 6 years old, my mom took me to the restaurant in the CN Tower. She couldn't afford it, and so ordered the cheapest thing on the menu just so I'd have the experience. We ate a cheese platter like it was a main course as the skyline inched past. I have nothing to hide. I'm proud that you'll rarely encounter a Jewish cop. Team sports aren't really for me. The two worst jobs I ever had were, one, sorting scrap metal outside of an industrial warehouse on the outskirts of Toronto during a heat wave, and two, being a civil servant for the province of Ontario's official broadcaster. I didn't actually complete my mandatory community service in high school, so technically I shouldn't have been allowed to graduate. However, I created a shell organization called Plant a Wish and claimed that I volunteered to plant trees for 40 hours. The phone number was an out of service line. I take criticism easily because I ignore it. This serves me well in writers' workshops, which I attend solely for the deadlines. I believe everyone should create a novelization of their lives. I vow to never again sign a non-disclosure agreement for anything less than the sum of $200,000. In chess, I modeled my playing after Mikhail Tal, a prolific drinker and tactician, known for unexpected material sacrifices, and who won the World Championship in 1960, defeating the conventional and boring Mikhail Botvinnik. At the age of 25, I started dating a 39-year-old professor who taught at the college I was enrolled in journalism at. 6 of my favorite writers are from California: John Fonte, Charles Bukowski, William Saroyan, Eve Babbitt, Richard Brautigan, John Steinbeck. I realized that Brautigan was born in Tacoma, Washington, Fonte was born in Denver, Colorado, and Bukowski was born in Andernach, Germany, but these writers' work is undeniably a product of California. Jobs I've had besides being a civil servant and junk sorter: produce department at a grocery store, stock boy and cashier at the Gateway newsstand at Union Station, salesperson at the Gap, pizza maker at Domino's, landscaper and gardener, carpet cleaner, dishwasher, seller of office supplies, telemarketer, copywriter. I get unreasonably jealous when someone points out a cloud that looks like something else before I get the chance to or notice. I refuse to let children win at games. I hate to be filmed or photographed from a low angle. I'm bad at remembering important dates. Lucky for me, 2 of my girlfriends have had January 1st as a birthday. For identification, I carry something called an Ontario photo card, which is for people who don't have a driver's license. I think most people who have only known me for a short time assume it is because I've lost my license for drunk driving, but that's not the case. I'm surprised Velcro shoes are not far and away the most popular style of footwear. An idea I have for a possible future project is to write a series of novels with each one based on a different person's life as told to me. I would spend hours interviewing my subjects, who would ideally be so-called average people, likely seniors who have the time to take part in the project, and then use the transcripts to create a novelization. If that doesn't earn me a Canada Council for the Arts grant, nothing will. I live in a 440 square foot apartment. I have tweeted about 14,000 times. My great-grandmother's name was Ida, which I had forgotten for 2 or 3 years and subsequently had to rifle through her mail when I was visiting to rediscover it. I didn't want any of my relatives to know, so I guess there is a threshold for my shamelessness after all. I fell in love with a schizophrenic woman who tried to destroy my life and nearly succeeded. I agree with Andy Warhol that if you're not the type of person to do something, you shouldn't. I want to write a novel called 10,000 Novels so that when I'm introduced at readings, they'll say Josh Sherman is the author of 10,000 novels. It is November 13th, 2023, and I turn 37 in about 6 months. Auto Portrait 1.3. Joking. I'm gonna stop there.
Josh, this is so fucking good. This is like what's the term I'm looking for? This is like the perfect synthesis of like all the different Josh Sherman styles. Like it has the like pithiness and concise focus of your poetry, since it's chopped up into these discrete brief little sections. It has the like, but it has the like journalistic scope, I guess, of your prose. And it's just a really good marriage of all the different Josh Shermans. And what I also really dig about this is, yeah, okay, it's hugely funny. Like there are so many fucking hilarious punchlines here, but it's not just a string of punchlines, right? And you do this wonderful thing where you'll like offer a bunch of like self-deprecating, punchy, funny lines in a row, and then you'll slip in something really earnest and really heartfelt. The story about your mom and the CN Tower and ordering the cheapest thing on the menu. That's fucking touching. And it hints at a kind of there's almost like a game of three card Monty being played here with your humanity, where it's like every once in a while you'll lift the cup or you'll lift the card and we get a glimpse of your humanity, and then you put the cups down and you shuffle and you go back to the game of like cleverly shuffling things around with self-deprecation and these hints of narcissism, and you keep going so that we build up this sense of like, oh, this guy's a character, right? This guy's kind of an asshole. And then the cup is lifted again, and we get a glimpse of your humanity again, and then you shuffle it around. It's a really fantastic, I don't know, it's a really fantastic like shell game that you're playing here. And it's so well paced, it's so funny, and there are so many individual ones. I'm not going to list off all the ones that really got me, but I will say I am in 100% agreement with you about the escalator thing. I would go in on you on funding that study because nothing pisses me off as much as having to stand on an escalator. Like it drives me insane, and I don't care what like the science says. It's infuriating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, there's no way it's true. And I think it's my kind of like red pill moment where I'm like, wait, is what we're
How could
being
it be true? Yeah.
That's actually a really good way of putting it. It makes me feel good because I think that's kind of the intention. So people who don't know, Ed Levey wrote a novel called Auto Portrait. A novel, it's just a series of sentences about himself. I like the idea so much that I just wanted to do it just out of own personal interest and see what might arise from it. So I've kind of been following it through, and I'm several thousand words into it. But I only wanted to read a bit here because even for myself enjoying the project, it's a bit much at times. But one thing I liked about his work was that it was a portrait. It was as you were reading the sentences, it was like your eyes scanning a certain part of a photograph and then taking it all in. You're not you're seeing it all at once, kind of, but you're not really. You're actually kind of reading the picture, and I like that. So I like the idea of call and answer, and the CN Tower thing comes up twice already. And I'm thinking if I do 10 of these, something in the 10th will call back to something in the first, and then his book was doing that as well. Like there were certain facts that I had to go back and see, wait, didn't he say? And sometimes he was contradicting himself. Anyways, I loved my experience with that book. I love the book. I love the idea and thought it suited kind of my interests. Don't know whether I'll actually do anything with it or whether it's too derivative of that work to do. Interestingly, somebody else came out with their own book called Auto Portrait like last year, also inspired by his idea. And I also kind of like the idea of literally everybody just writing their own auto portrait. And I think it would be valuable for anyone to do so. But yeah, thanks. I think it sounds like the project came across as it's supposed to.
I just a couple of things in response to that. First of all, like I really do love the way you handled the CN Tower callback because you do. So the first time it's presented as just another like punchy kind of self-deprecating thing, like the idea that you would go up there and be more into the electric hand dryers than the sites, right? Than the side of the city. But then the second time it comes around, we're expecting the same thing, right? We're expecting another kind of self-deprecating punchline, and instead we get this really heartfelt moment. So in that way, I think the fact that it's a callback, the fact that this story is coming back only makes it more effective. In terms of the like, is this too derivative thing? The older I get, the less I think that's something authors should worry about. I think that when you're young and you're writing, like there's this terrible fear of anything that might be considered a cliche or anything that isn't your own unique novel creation. But the older I get, the more you realize that variations on this shit have been done time and time and time again. And above and beyond that, though, that a lot of the most effective literature is actually a refinement or a unification or a synthesis of other creators' ideas, of other creators' ideas and techniques and styles, like viewed through the lens of a new author, of a new artist. And often shit that's like single-mindedly obsessed with being unique and novel can be very messy and very shallow at the same time. And sometimes like it's better for your work to be like a grand refinement of themes and techniques and stuff than something totally that's never been seen before, because a lot of the shit that's never been seen before hasn't been seen before for a reason. Anyway, Josh, this is really good. I just have to say, at the very end here, I think we're up to 4 people in the chat now who do not have driver's licenses, because Bizarre said public transit gang represent, and of course I don't drive and you don't drive, and I don't know if I'm pretty sure Kat has said publicly that she doesn't drive too. So four of us bums taking public transit, bumming rides. Anyway, Josh, sorry for going
That's
on
fine.
and on. That
No,
was
that's
great.
fine. But it's just the idea I have that's particular to my province. Only DUI cases have it. Like if you don't, some people carry their passport, but I went to the trouble of getting this ridiculous it's actually purple. The card, they almost made it like as clownish as possible. And I actually bought something at Indigo like a week ago, or not a week ago, sorry, it was some months ago. But the person actually said, "Oh, I lost my license too," and like, no, no way. Anyways.
Hey, Josh, can I just ask real quick? I missed the first part of it, but I really loved it. Is that part of a larger piece, or what do you plan on doing with that?
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm aiming to go like 30,000 words with that. I have some more stuff. I just didn't want to. I criticize people's reading time sometimes, so I have 1.3 and 1.4 kind of locked and loaded, maybe for another week. But yeah, I wanna make it book length, and I'm sure my publisher is thrilled that as we're in the final stretches of wrapping up finally my book, I've decided to start working on another project. But yeah, it's a longer thing.
You have a publisher for it already?
No.
Oh, I loved it. It really stood out from the rest of your work, I thought.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. The book Charm Reduction is still ongoing. My other one, but like this is going to be a separate thing, and I should really be focusing on the other thing. But anyway, thanks though.
Josh, you know what you do? You come back, not next week, because we're not doing it next week because it's Thanksgiving, but you come back on December 1st and you read the rest of it. And then
Sure.
as you keep writing, you come here and you keep presenting. And then we get to see you every week. All right. Thank you, Josh. That was wonderful. And Rudy's up next.
Hey, so Josh Sherman, that was a really good story. I had written a story last week for Josh Sherman, and I didn't get to well, I did read it, but Josh Sherman didn't get to hear it. So I was wondering, what does everybody think? Do you think I should pull a Josh Sherman?
Oh, you're breaking up, man. What did you say? Think you should pull a Josh Sherman and
Do you think I should pull a Josh Sherman and reread an existing story, or should I read something else?
I don't know. What do you want to do, man? What do you want to do? Do you want to reread that? Or you've got new stuff though, too, so
I always got new stuff. I mean, it don't really matter.
I mean, some of the people here are different than when you read that story before. I don't know. It's up to you, man. It's 100% your choice.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just read some poetry then, since there's a lot of people here, so I don't really want to take too much time here. So I'll read some game poetry from Game Loop. This one's called Destiny 2. Destiny 2 was a volatile trash fire, hastily scraped off one proprietary launcher to a steamy tomb. Apollo 1 feels. When I tell my children about this game, or rather, when somebody trying to start a fight at a family gathering reads this poem to my children after my suicide, or rather, when no one reads this poem and who cares, my crash-laden free-to-play experience will be described as follows. Trailer voice optional, if outside the North Country, that is. Your father was captain of a starship for 10 minutes. He saved over $100. Let me see here. This next one I will read is this one is called Duke Nukem Forever. Duke Nukem Forever. Not really. And that's it. That's the full poem. Let's see. Just scrolling through here. I'm just trying to pick out ones I haven't read yet. There's a lot in here, but I'm not sure which ones I haven't read yet. Let's see. Math Blaster, I did. Did I read Heretic, that's right. Okay, this one is called Warcraft, Orcs and Humans. After Volodymyr Zelensky cried, "We're under attack," I made a wish that this real-life proxy war would become the real-time strategy game Warcraft, the first one, so that I could click President Zelensky again and again and again until he gets so flustered, so completely overwhelmed, that he delves deep into Zelensky.voc and retrieves the sound effect that is just pure emotional collapse, pure sugar hitting my bloodstream. Oh God, time to manage my diabetes. What do you want? Why do you keep touching me? Let me see. I'll do like a couple more here. This one here is called Splatoon 3. Oh boy, is it name? Oh no, I can pronounce that name, I think. Godfrey Reggio's film Koyaanisqatsi is about 1.5 hours long, which means I can get about 6.66 Koyaanisqatsis out of my Splatoon 3 playtime of 10 hours, an abominable decline from my playtime on Splatoon 2. 10 hours mostly accrued during one of the worst, most lonely times of my life, with friends Billy and JT, and a fourth player that threatened to be Sean, but was usually some little fuck who rocked dualies and balled and bailed if they weren't kill leader, in a team game where territory inked is more important. Oh my God. It's like joining the cartels to only do recreational graffiti tagging, or the reverse of that, joining a gang in Malone, New York to do homicide. Suicidal me would love to reverse pile drive some little dually toting faggot who stayed up late for a Splatoon 3 midnight release and encountered my belligerent 38-year-old husk and got in my face. Reverse Pinocchio. Wish a nigger would probably never have bought this game if I knew that my world and everyone else's world was imploding at roughly the same time. Hours peeled off the restorative multiplayer back to immersion. Immersion in the single player is not my thing, but I've always loved Splatoon's view of late stage hyper-capitalism as not dystopian, but as outwardly at least a kind of jiving utopia without people. Red Team likes to say that capitalism is inherently evil, a charge that Team Green can deflect with a squid roll, with a McDonald's hamburger, with any number of creature comforts dished out. But it's possible that capitalism is only waiting for humans with their emotional stock markets and attention economies to walk into the sea. I'll do one more here. Let's see. Did season like that? Did X-Men? Let's see. Sorry, I'm scrolling through my document here. It's kind of difficult to scroll PDFs on this computer because it's a piece of dog shit. Okay, I'll do Oh, I did that one. Let's see. So I will do. Oh, that's not right. How about I do American McGee's The Secret Garden? This game probably would have existed in a universe that was less American and more McGee. And that's it.
Man, these are great. I love the fact that you're adding some poems to this collection that are like super concise and punchy and jokey. The Duke Nukem Forever one got me. The American McGee one got me. What was the first one you read again? The
Um,
the
I
because
don't
that was
remember
another really like punchy,
the
like
short one, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. There was the Warcraft one too. Is a little short. I guess it was like a sweet one.
Yeah, that was good as well. I
Oh, Destiny was the first one I think.
that was the fucking the fucking Star Trek reference, the way you use that, like, and saved over $100, which it's such a like, I don't know, it's such a funny send up of the way that like with games as a service shit, you
Oh God,
you
yeah.
actually save money by not playing the game, right? Like it's actually a good thing if you
Ooh,
buy the game and then don't play it because then you don't end up spending an extra $100 on it. Um,
yeah, terrible game for the record, but
yeah. Was that Destiny 2 or Destiny 1? Because
I was two. I
I
actually
played,
bought Destiny one, but
yeah, we both did.
yeah,
And then I played it for probably like 2 hours and I was like, this is fucking awful. This is just so bad.
yeah,
Anyway, man, I love the idea of cutting these like punchline poems amidst like your darker and more personal poems in this collection. And
yeah, definitely.
excuse me, the Zelensky one is great because it totally undermines like subverts, I should say, your expectations for what, because it's gonna be like some kind of critique on the war in Ukraine or something like that. And instead, it's this actually really nostalgic look at the act of just like constantly clicking on an NPC to hear all their voice lines in a game, which is something I did as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, as they said in as the general in Apocalypse Now said, all men have breaking points, even I have them. You know,
Yeah.
that's all I can think of when I think of the clicking units in Warcraft or any of the Blizzard games. It's just like, well, fuck, they just break under pressure, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, because it's always eventually you end up at some fucking obscure voice line. And I love when you can push them to actually say fuck you, basically. Like,
Yeah, they
and not
always say
every
fuck
game
you.
has that. Some just have like 5 or 6 that they cycle through. And that's
Yeah,
something you don't see that much anymore. But I know
yeah,
in like classic strategy games and stuff, they like to put that in where it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, come on.
yeah. Play the game, like Jesus.
Right. All right, man. That was great.
Thanks.
And Cletus is up next. Oh, is he with us still, or did he step away for a minute?
Wait, who are you
Oh, there
talking
you
about?
are.
Oh, you're talking about me. Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem,
So
no
I
problem.
got a poem that Rudy will like. Because it's inspired by a video game, Dark Souls. Uh, it's called Traverse the Mist. And so basically when you traverse the mist, in Dark Souls, you go to a final boss. So this is Traverse the Mist. My sword is the size of a skyscraper. My mouth is a dragon mouth. Your character dodges masterfully before each strike. This is the whole of existence until you get good enough. I will evaporate in a pearlescent cloud. The cutscene showed how we were lovers, but then came the warlock's curse. I was the warlock and his curse. And then I got one more. Alright. Alright, so this one's called Dildo. This one, it's from Phallic Symbols. Yeah, so this should be fun. Vibrating like hate mail from Anonymous. Kinda jealous, no I shouldn't be, but still. It's simply better, bigger, neon green silicone. The lightsaber of old Jedi masters, the sound too. As a big boy, I gorged Star Wars with Granddad. Meek manhood, meat pizza, mom's not home. I wish my dick could cut through blast shields. Recalling oneself so innocent. Bad headache. Oh, that's all.
God damn, man. God damn. Those were great. I adore the Dark Souls poem. I really do. I love the fucking line. This is the whole of existence until you get good enough. Because it's like, first of all, it's such an accurate depiction of the kind of tunnel vision that you get into when you're playing one of those games where like, and especially if it's a game like Dark Souls where it really drags you in and where it really requires a high level of like precision and repetition to achieve any kind of mastery, like the way the game just becomes the whole of your world, not even the whole game, but like this one boss encounter can become fucking everything to you. But I also really fucking love how effectively you've captured the vibe of Dark Souls, like the atmosphere of that game and what makes that game so fucking compelling. And you've done a really great job. This is actually similar to like what Rudy often does in his game poetry. You've done a fantastic job of getting at the atmosphere of the game you're describing, getting at like what makes the game you're describing mechanically like so addictive, so effective, and also tying it to this like real sense of personal and emotional resonance. And it's a brief poem. It's all really interwoven quite beautifully. And the dildo poem is so good. It's so good because it does something. Oh, sorry, Rudy.
Oh no, no, go ahead. I was just laughing.
Oh,
I was gonna say something after you, but yeah.
okay. Because I love this is something that you do in a lot of your poems, Cletus, but I continue to be amazed by it. It's the pivot that poem makes from the dildo to like the pleasant experience with your grandfather, like the nostalgic experience of like watching Star Wars with him with the microwave pizza. It is such a dramatic emotional shift in the poem, and yet it's intuitively perfect. Like it doesn't feel forced or anything, and it's so wonderful because your poems often do that. They change directions in this really beautiful and elegant, but also very subversive and surprising way. Anyway, Rudy, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I really like the dildo poem, especially the line about the blast shields, because that makes me think of that part in Star Wars where they cut through that door and they talk about like aggressive negotiations or whatever, and that
Exactly.
it's just he's like, well, how do we get through this? He's like, well, we just cut through the door. It's like, yeah, okay. I mean, you have a big sword, a big laser sword, but no, man, that poem is awesome. But I really love the Dark Souls one for the reasons that William made, but also because that line with the warlock, I'm the warlock and his curse, that has like such like multiple meaning type shit if you know from both the game and just life in general. Because it's like like you get so angry you could curse. There's curses in the game, like curses are particularly strong, like from in like PvP and shit. And it's just really, that's a great poem, man. I love it. Sorry to ramble.
No.
Thanks a
man.
lot, you guys.
Yeah,
Very much
thank you.
appreciated, Rudy and William. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, man. Now, I'm glad to hear Rudy's thoughts on these because there's a real, I think, unity between these pieces and some of the game poems that Rudy has read. So they're very complimentary. So yeah, no, this is good shit. Good shit, guys. And I actually didn't put you and Rudy back to back. Obviously, I had no idea that you'd be reading similar work. So that's actually pretty cool. Every once in a while we have these moments of serendipity in Misery Loves Company where pieces come together and align. And anyway, Colton is next. And Colton might be closing out the night. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think Adam is here yet. I think Colton said that maybe Adam is at a concert, but I'll give Adam one last shot after Colton reads.
Yeah, Adam is at the son of Jim Croc, whatever. I don't fucking know how to say his last name. He's at that concert, so he tweeted about it. So his tweets are actually here and not deleted yet. But
amazing
shit, it's good. Yeah, it's good to be here. I had work this morning, and while everyone was going through their pieces, I was listening. I was like in the bathroom, just like getting all the grossness off of me. A bunch of fucking flour on me and shit from making pizzas, but I'm glad to be here. Okay, so this piece, I don't know. I always get like to a point where I finish a piece and I'm starting something new, and I'm like, there's no way I can write anything right now. Like I'm so empty of like shit. Like you know, like you get to that point where you're like, there's no way. Like I've done a real fucking, life, and then some random thing I'll just either hyperfixate on, or I think like I just get more confident and like, okay, like I can write about this now. I don't know. Time is really, really nice sometimes. So this piece I wrote just like looking at news articles on my feed and just seeing all those like ridiculous like ads that have all that hyperbolic language. And I just wanted to like, just kind of like play around with that idea. All right. So yeah, this piece is called, check out this mind-blowing trick, or how to lose weight and burn fat. Google cows with Down syndrome. Go ahead and do it, you sick fucking freak. American Fried Chicken in Edinburgh. Running after your stolen backpack. The culprit sprints to the fringe into street performance. Staged art. Arnold Schwarzenegger drinking Coke. An unruly knave grabbing a TV remote from his tyrant king and saying, "Mines." Adding an egg ovipositor sex toy to the wish list. Taking off your Bernie 2016 bumper sticker. Slightly sarcastic sincerity mixed with untranslatable meta irony. At the table, plates of bread slabbed with Vegemite, messy conies, golden white Lindor balls, 63-degree eggs, and plain bagels burnt black. Shit. 2341, 2341. An email ruined my day. Can you fucking believe it? I think that whoever created electronic mail should have had their hands and feet shoved into a macerating pump. Growing through gravel and traveling back to the Mediterranean with Twombly for inspiration. Old City smoke sips around cans of Skyline chili in a 7th floor horizon. Puritans fill the cosmos and reform net-caught sections of the middle class to fit higher altitudes, bigger attitudes, a permanent status of soft-brain mush. Invading the home of the scam artist and finding the blueprints for the Enlightenment. Wasax's end-of-world rave, but it's forever because Doom is a mixture of prolonged Holocaust, dilated pupils, dimly lit factory interiors, and the pulsating pressure of a crowd gone numb. Weird language aside, do you get it now? All these repeat ad campaigns and the locked doors of industrial districts and the perpetual and eventual megacity layouts forever. Yes, I will repeat that word again. Forever. Everlasting. Shopping inside a bathroom lull. You cannot abort yourself. You can only give birth. Or go on a shooting spree. Let death egg fall underneath your bed. Or you can be cheeky and send a picture of your gigantic dump to the family group chat. Spice things up a little. What's on your mind? Another piece of the world revealed to be plagued by twisted suffering. Why is everything always filled with blood? I wrote this piece thinking about Judas. I need to do something different. It's almost 2024. That's a good even number, you know. The best poetry you will ever create will never touch paper. It will be recorded visually between blinks and then immediately forgotten. Even though complete thoughts don't exist, something is there between one thought and another thought. Even mindless action requires an empty thought. The enjoyable things in your life don't exist anymore. Going to get McDonald's now sucks. Remember when those old guys used to meet up at McDonald's real early when you would go in the morning for breakfast and you knew they were talking about the darkest shit like war or their selfish grandkids, or maybe they were talking about black people. Who knows? I think all those guys are dead now, or maybe they immigrated to Waffle House. Now I understand why my dad likes Burger King. I sexually identify as the guys drinking beer and shooting off fireworks in the parking lot after work. My shoes are covered in mud, but that's okay. I like to step on the leaves that crunch. Resistance sponsored by Crayola. Serving cunt, serving size, serving queen size cunt. Como te llamas? Colt, like the horse. Frio? Skittles game out in the pasture. Arms swinging to answer the phone and piss taking and knocking all the candle pins down. Except for that one stuck on a fucking magnet. Flicker photos of hobby nooks and the anxieties of store crooks. Making crazy eyes at little babies trapped in grocery carts. Image sent with invisible ink. For you, my sweet ladybug. Apple and onion, Apollonian, Appling, Witten, four-way, away. Packing up your kid's first spend-a-night bag. Here come the woozies, new twirling intersections. Do you want to round up and donate 46 cents to charity? Why did we stop giving out stimulus checks? On the side of a bridge, it reads, Denby slings fence, Solit, Zarf, Rip Sacks, Scrap, Noisy 42. I'm so confused. Glow-in-the-dark rubber zombie finger puppets, rush hour Chinese fire drill freaking out the carpool vans. John Denver plays on the stereo while your friend hangs her head out the window and sticks a finger down her throat. Shit. 2341. That's fun to say. 2341. My friend Jake took a lot of psychedelics when he was younger, and he told me he used to stare at white specks flying around in the air in class, and I never understood what he meant until I just stared at the sky for a few seconds and noticed, after zoning out, that I could focus on small bits of light moving in my peripheral. It felt like my eyes were not seeing out, but seeing inside themselves. Like the outside world and the interior of my eye were slowly mixing, but I saw the white specks. He was right. I mean, they're probably not as spiritual as he was making them out to be. I think they're just cells or blood being pumped through veins or something. A woman walks into a sign. There is no woman. The woman becomes the sign. The sign is the woman walking. A man sits by a trash bag on the curb. There is no man. The man becomes the trash bag on the curb. The trash bag is the man sitting on the curb. When I was in elementary school, our librarian would always do a trivia game before we went back to class with our library books. We would line it up and then split off into 4 different trivia teams: the Bears, the Books, the Stars, and the Apples. Most of the year, the trivia was general knowledge questions about the United States and world history, art, math, and so on at the start. But throughout the year, the librarian took it upon herself to bring farmers market snacks to trivia and ask us fun questions related to health and fitness at the end during the final few rounds. Our county was known for the low physical education scores. This was her way of trying to help us. Her husband worked as a volunteer at the local agri center, so the librarian would hook us up by bringing us cut up melons and Nutri-Grain bars. She'd ask us questions like, what is a normal body temperature? What are the 5 food groups? What measure of energy is found in food? My classmates and I enjoyed learning while having fun in the library. It was a very rare thing for us, but one day the librarian didn't show up. She got sick. The cells in her body were attacking her, and she lost her hair and some weight or something. That's what the principal and my friend's parents told us. We got this new librarian, and the first day we met her, she made us watch this video on the Dewey Decimal System, and boy, howdy, Christ in the sky, can I tell you, I for sure did not give one single fat, hairy fuck about the lame-ass Dewey Decimal System, but unfortunately, that was just the beginning. The new teacher didn't let us play our trivia game, and food wasn't allowed in the library. My friends and I started to hate library time. I stopped doing accelerated reading for fun and hated my assignments. I guess I learned the hard way that a librarian can really help any apathetic kid enjoy learning and reading. Cancer sucks. Sorry. Rolling out crumbly gluten-free dough. Body parts disintegrate like blue cheese. Don't tell me the distributor is running low on stupid motherfucking ricotta. Arugula is just spinach, but with a gay haircut. What are you on about? The new guy is being racismo again. My friend Greg is frustrated at work because his coworkers keep teasing him and calling him Maraquita. That's Spanish for ladybug. People, I'm pretty sure it's Spanish for ladybug. People at the turn of the century addicted to puberty blocking themselves into a new way of being, repeating, being. I'm feet hurt. I'm scared to see what happens next because 99% fail to answer this one simple question. What are you watching? Shit pickle. What? Shit pickle. Shit pickle? Yes, shit pickle. Shit pickle. That old YouTube video of the cartoon pickle saying shit pickle? Yeah, that shit pickle. Doesn't shit pickle die? Shit pickle never dies. She's got chemotherapy this week, so they're going to prep steaks for saute and overnight oats for the weekend brunch, but I think she's really supposed to float. Fuck her right in the poutine. Boiling point for the unborn. The Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, Triforce, but then you remember, Pepsi. Leaving out butter to get soft. Don't get a twist in then. Let's get it in twist, man. Why are you looking for a shucking poker? Let's take a step back and admire wet muscles. Hashtag, 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 AJ hashtags, hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. It's 2 a.m. and I have work in 6 hours. A manager is someone who gets paid to have really good OCD. Dig into my neck and you'll find nothing but wires and cords. Spray painted snowmen and chalk circles around pavement imperfections to let joggers and walkers know of their presence. I wonder if my parents wanted to die like I did. VHS tape unboxing videos and a simple solution for ED in 2023. Grinding human bodies into indiscernible paste. RIP Fat Larry, your barbecue will live forever. Thinking about the absolute state of the world and remembering that you forgot to flush. Finding the most common lifeblood of the new millennium. Incitement. Heath is a master of masking the subtle horrors of basic living. They still sting, but the storytelling is always so inviting. So well done. I am a Tyson food experiment kid. Lethargy and BHT, hormones in surplus, glands, fiber optic distribution cabling, digestive systems integrated and remodeled. Imitating your kid with a squeaky Mike Tyson voice when they're being needy. Skip ad. Hold on a sec. I'm going to start beef with a crow. The unrelenting ego of the American police officer. No, I want the Star Wars chips. No, I want the LeBron James chips. No, I want the Formula One racing car chips. No, I want the Muhammad Ali chips. No, I want the Gundam chips. No, I want the Naruto chips. No, I want the Transformers chips. No, I want the Master Chief chips. No, I want the Megan Thee Stallion chips. No, I want the Gordon Ramsay chips. No, I want the anti-racist baby chips. No, I want the Iron Man chips. No, I want the Pee Wee Herman chips. No, I want the Pride Month chips. No, I want the Keyboard Cat chips. Nah, I want the Starship Enterprise chips. No, I want the Breast Cancer Awareness Month chips. No, I want the Dialectical Materialism chips. No, I want the Sonic the Hedgehog chips. No, I want the Last Will and Testament chips. Window display full of disproportionate mannequins. Jeweler shop's outdoor scrolling LED sign reads, Wedding ring specials. Congratulations, Eric and Sam. That's it.
I also want the Last Will and Testament chips. I think if I had to pick any chip from that selection, those would be my choice as well. Man, I fucking love this. And you know, it's funny because I was talking about sometimes there's this weird kind of synchronicity or serendipity to Misery Tourism readings. And I love that this reading, assuming Adam doesn't suddenly show up at the last minute, opened and closed with these kind of very different poems about the horrors of capitalism, right? What I love about yours is so in some ways this is structured very much like your poems or your mixed kind of poems and prose pieces are. Like there's a similar kind of kaleidoscopic effect where you're dropping in and out of these moments in time, these lives. But what I love is how that theme of advertising and capitalism and the of late capitalist despair or whatever holds all of these very disparate and very different moments together. And what I love how as odd as it is to say, unrelentingly bleak and negative this particular one is, right? There aren't as many moments of levity as usually your pieces sneak in some happy moments, but this is kind of unrelentingly negative, which I think is appropriate, which is since it's fundamentally this kind of satirical poem. And all of the details, the sheer number of different brand names and how they're juxtaposed with each other in this. I love even like including like the Bernie 2016 bumper sticker is a great touch, since Bernie was perceived as this kind of like anti-capitalist candidate, right? And yet, like, at
Yeah,
the end of the
like
day, it's another brand that you have to scrape off the back of your car, you know?
bro, and it's true. Like I had a 2016 Bernie sticker, and I kept it because it was good camouflage, I guess. Like I knew, like with that sticker, like no one was really gonna fuck with me. But like
Right.
before that, like I had an Obama sticker, and it was like it was really a magnet. It wasn't a sticker, and that shit got stolen. So
Damn.
you know, it's so weird. But now I just have like I covered it up with like a pinball sticker. So or I took it off and put a pinball sticker in place of it. But yeah, it was like when that moment happened, I was like in a parking lot and I just did it, and I was like, oh fuck, I could have done this like at any time. I
In
just,
the
was too lazy.
right. No, it's great. I do love though that given how like sardonic and ugly this piece is, that it ends on one of the few moments of kind of levity or joy or meaning. Like one of the few like positive images of capitalism in the piece is that badly misspelled sign congratulating and it's so perfect too. It's so perfect because those like that's the kind of shit that ends up on some quaint Twitter account that like like Mytho America or
Yes.
like some like account that's kind of like worshipful nostalgia for the American Midwest or something. And it's so perfect. It's so perfect because it does on some level like tug at your heartstrings, and it reminds you in a weird way why we're all ensnared in this particular insidious system. But it's so good, man. Your shit is always amazing. I don't know why I even have to say it. It's so fucking good.
You fucking know how to say that shit, man. Thank you. I
It's
appreciate you,
true.
William. It's I don't know, like it's weird to just like because I never like I plan a piece when I write down like either the title or some random sentence, but it's always hard to figure out like, okay, where the fuck is this going? Because like I still have more things I want to put on this piece, like I want this to be like 10 pages of this shit because this is truly like a political piece. But I was like, okay, dial it back, dial it back, dial it back. Like give yourself like 3 words, or like give yourself 3 lines. Like don't let yourself bleed out on the page because like it's just at the end of the day, like it's just the humor that I find
Yeah.
in retrospect of all of these things. Like
Yeah.
that is what I really want to focus on because that makes me like, even though there's like the shame and cringe of like, that used to be me. It's like, it's funny. And there are other people who are still like, they're still like that. And so it's nice to like kind of not laugh at them, but just like be self-aware and just have this kind of moment. This was very like a therapeutic, just kind of like, just you just gotta laugh. You just gotta
Yeah.
laugh at that shit.
No, and I think you did a great job with that. And I think it is very restrained. It really is. And you let in a wonderful way, you let all the brand names do the talking for you, right? Like, and the way they're presented and what they're juxtaposed with. Like, you don't have to be polemical because just seeing this unending conveyor of advertising statements that are obviously banal and obviously manipulative, and the way that we respond to them and the way that they're presented like realistically, like it's not as if these like this isn't a very realistic depiction of the kind of scum that we're all swimming in constantly, it
Right.
speaks for itself in a really beautiful way, I think. um yeah, well, thank you, man.
I appreciate you. Thank you, William, Rudy, and everybody that read before me. I mean, fuck, I had to follow Josh's piece. I'm sorry, but that was great. And
Oh, it was
Kat
great.
and fucking Rudy. And I wish Adam would have read, but also Tyler. I mean, everybody that read tonight. I mean, just fucking everyone killed it.
Yeah, that is, I could not agree more. And you know what, it's good we're working on the list for the December 1st when we come back, because we have James on there, we have Troy on there, and now we'll add Adam to the list. So
Hey.
we already have a great lineup for December 1st.
Also, I forgot to mention Cletus. Your pieces were fucking awesome too.
So I think we're going to end it there. I'm pretty sure Adam is not here. I haven't let anyone new in. So as usual, I'm going to keep the the Zoom call open for who the fuck knows how long afterwards, but I'm going to end the reading portion of the night there. Once again, I mean, Colton already said it, but there were a ton of great fucking readings tonight. So thank you to everyone who read. This was another really stellar night. I don't really have any idea how so many gifted and talented fucking authors keep just kind of washing into our little Zoom room to read, but hopefully it won't stop as we move into our third, fourth year or whatever of fucking doing this when 2024 comes around. Yeah, anyway, this was fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, we do this every fucking week. Every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Anyone is welcome to come and join us. But if you troll us, we're going to throw you the fuck out. And yeah, we tweet out the link right before we begin from our Twitter account at Misery Tourism. It's been great, guys. It's been a lot of fun. All right, that's it. I'm rambling.